But Lord, if this is what I'm to do. Pete and I have been married for 57 years. And seems like two. And but it is 57. We have 8 great grandchildren. So, but anyway, we have had a spectacular life. And I do not understand people who don't have a life with it because it's so easy when you've got a man of God. First of all, this is kind of how we got here to today. We just didn't. We just didn't happen, and I do not to love Jesus so much. Okay, but share with you how we got to who we are. We married in 1966, and as the tradition of everybody back in 19 in the 50s and the 60s, we went to church on Sunday because that's what you did. You went to church on Sunday, and we did our duty. We had children, and they did their duty. And is this what your Sunday is? Is it duty that you go? It was for us. We were in church by, because of duty. Then the pastor of the little Methodist church we were going to in Houston, Durkee Methodist, called us and I'm sorry, I'm so dry this morning. Uh, Called us for more duty from the church, and he asked for us to meet. So we did, and in our meeting we discovered there were a lot of other lay people, but he had presented a program. He introduced the man that was going to do the program, who turned out to be a lifelong friend. But not a Sunday morning. And there were a lot of things that had to be done for the successful lay witness mission. There was a Friday night meeting, a Saturday morning coffee, a Saturday night meeting, and a Sunday morning meeting. We were in charge of the morning coffee on Saturday, and we were in charge of, I believe I'm correct, finding places for our visiting people to stay. So we given 2 jobs. That was easy enough, we thought. But let me see what we did. uh, Pete took his job fairly serious, but he worked 5 days a week for the Department of Public Safety, and then his weekends he worked at a small store, and all the weekend pretty much. A few Sunday mornings he could go with us to church, but anyway, I got to do a lot of both jobs we were given. And if it were up to you to find 5 people to host a Saturday morning coffee, I think it'd be easy. No, because that's when I do my shopping, and no, we're going to be out of town that weekend, and so it became more of a chore. been a job. But anyway, we got them all filled up. We got every person a place to stay, and I did the coffee. We I don't remember how many we had, about 7 or 8 coffees, and so we were set to go. But these people, and that's what we called them, these people came in, didn't know them from Adam, didn't know anything about them, and we were to love them and just open ourselves up to them. We did. Saturday morning, sorry, we'll go back to Friday night first. We had a first meeting on Friday night, and the preacher was not involved. He just sat back and was one of us. And we had all these people come in and take over. And we broke up into small meetings and we just all talked. And there were burdens in our heart that we had forgotten we had, that were brought up. Everybody was touched in one way or the other, just from the lay people. And we came to Saturday morning now, and we hosted one of the coffees. And so our group came, but just less than 10 minutes before it started, Pete got a call, and he was not going to be able to do the rest of the weekend because he had to work. And Friday night had meant so much to him. He really wanted to be able to spend the rest of his time in the lay witness mission. So we were getting prepared for the morning coffee about 10 minutes before. And the boss from the weekend job called Pete. And he said, Mr. Smith, I've got good news and bad news. The good news, your check's here. The bad news, you don't need to come in anymore. I have a cousin who needs a job, so he's coming in. That morning, the people came in and they started talking. And like we did Friday night, it was just a small group. And they started talking, and the question they asked, when was the last time you had a miracle in your life? And it took about a second. Pete and I grabbed each other's hands. And it was their first miracle. God having that man call and say, you don't need to come in. He got to finish the lay witness mission. And, it just sounds like a church. It was just so much bigger. Lives changed. Our life changed, never the same. It wasn't a sermon because we were in church, we knew right from wrong because it was our duty. But it was such a change. The words don't describe what happened to us. But after November the 3rd was the date I was looking for here. November the 3rd, 1971, our lives changed. Everything exploded. Everything was new. we felt so good, not a happy ha-ha, but we could reach out and touch Jesus. He was that close. And them asking who had experienced a miracle. I don't know if that's crossed your mind, Pete, in the last umpteen years. But at that moment, we knew God in a whole new way. One of the guys that was there, was he training for the Olympics? Or was he from NASA? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I should have checked this out earlier. But one of the gentlemen from the group was a gentleman in a wheel powered chair. And come to find out that he had been jumping on a in ground trampoline. They're dangerous. Don't ever do it. And as talented and trained as he was, his head hit the ground and he was quadriplegic. So he comes around and someone's back in of a pickup. And he just loves it. He gets to see everybody. He counted it a blessing that this had happened to him. Otherwise, he would have never come to know the Lord. It was a wonderful weekend. And for about a month, 6 weeks after, our group from the church, they had gone home back to their lives. And we had our little group at church that we loved so dearly. We saw them in a new life. We saw them in Jesus' eyes. We'd never seen them like that before. But probably 6, 8 weeks after that mission, Pete was transferred. We were leaving that comfy little home that we had found Jesus in. We had to leave Dad. But God's plan is so much bigger than our plans. We were just really down and we moved to Richmond, Texas. And God introduced us to his wildly passionate group of people. Ralph and Wanda Plummer. They own a plant nursery, and they had a nursery in their house for young men and young women that had an alcohol or drug problem. And several of them, they would sit there, hold their hand, and pray with them as they went through withdrawals. And we were introduced into that quality of life. It was something we had never experienced at all. But the plumbers taught us so much. They had a bologna ministry, which was every day at lunch. Anybody could go eat lunch with them, but it was a bologna sandwich. And all sorts of people would come out. And they taught us so much. They taught us to love the unloved, to look beyond the drugs, to look beyond the alcohol, and to see that there's a soul that's desperately trying to recover. They taught us how to love and forgive and to give. But there was a stumbling block for me. We continued to work with the plumbers would go out there. I would go out there pretty much every day and just help. They had 19 people, I believe, living there, and as well having, I believe, 8 of their own. There was a lot of work to be done. So I would go out and help the plumbers. But I had a stumbling block. And this is where Jesus loved me and brought me through. I was abused sexually as a very tiny little girl. When my mom found out, she said, "Don't tell us so. It'll embarrass the family." I never said, and she told me not to say anything, anybody, especially to my husband, because men don't like used women. And if he ever found out, I would be alone. So I didn't tell him. We had been married 20 years, and one Sunday, everything inside me broke. And if you have something inside of you that you've carried and you can't share, you'll break sometime. It's best not to put it off. But after 35 years, I broke. In that point of my life, with all of the good that I had accomplished, I felt pathetic. Then the fourth chapter